There's some other notes, here. You can take a look when you get the notes through the email. I'm going to move quickly because there's a nice little event going at 6 o'clock. There's free food there, right? If they register. Okay, here's my background now. The Healing Body, I'm a consultant. I speak nationally, so I fly around the US, and I teach all kinds of holistic doctors, again, how to identify diseases caused by pharmaceuticals, and then how to use food and herbs to reverse their health issues so that they become healthy and unmedicated. When I was in the drug industry, I built a lot of karma, pushing chemicals as food, really, right? It's funny in Chinese. All of you are taking Chinese. Raise your hand if you're taking Chinese or speak Chinese. Okay, so in Chinese, the word 吃饭, eat food. You take the verb 吃, and then take your medicine, 吃药. Same verb, you eat your medicine. Okay? In the US, in modern culture, they've messed up the truth. Right? There's a lot of truth in Chinese. So as you're studying it, it's pretty cool. Okay. I wrote a book. So they have a copy, I'm leaving a copy at the IMBA. I wrote a book, it's called The Pharmaceutical Myth, Letting Food Be Your Medicine is the Answer for Perfect Health. This is also a DVD, you guys can take a look at it. So I'll leave this for the IMBA folks. You can always buy your own copy if you want. Little plug there. Market yourself, okay, same thing. You gotta think out of the box. You got to develop a product or service that no one can compete with if you're gonna be an entrepreneur. And it doesn't have to be global, it can be local. But again, you're speaking globally. What is my service? I can tell you which patients have what diseases because of what pharmaceuticals. No one is teaching that formally. You're not going to go to med school and learn that. Because in med school, you learn how to put people on medications. Right? Okay. No one can compete with that. So I help with my service that no one else can also provide. I am now relevant to those practitioners. Because there are a lot of acupuncturists who are like, I'm putting needles in, you're taking herbs, but you're still not 100% healthy. Why not? Oh. Then I come in with the reason. One of the reasons. Okay? Build trust in a short period of time, just like how we had that little demo with Jimmy. Tell me what you like about that watch. Jimmy right away is like, just ready to tell me everything about the watch. What if I said like, hey, tell me about your financial situation. Maybe he would have said something, maybe he wouldn't, right? Okay, but the idea is this, how do you get people to open up? You have to ask the right questions, right? Learn from each step, then build processes. This actually build trust in a short period of time. You can do that during election time, but with Taiwanese, it's going to be a lot of fun if you just let them talk, right? As soon as you stop asking questions, you run into a challenge, right? Any election. Talk about someone's religion, it's not that serious to the core, right? So anyways, you gotta have them talk more, and if you don't agree, you still go, oh yeah, totally. Or, okay? Learn from each step, then build processes and systems. So the same thing for finding a job, you have a process system, same thing for running a business. Become an exceptional consultant. So when you're an expert, you're doing sales, but instead of saying you do sales, consulting is sales. You're selling a service, and you're providing deliverables. You are the brand. Very important. You are the brand. Okay, 4 legs that serve as the foundation of being an entrepreneur. You have to have a competitive offering, a product, a service, and you've got to have a pipeline. Okay, you can't just have the iPhone 3 and then stop, right? Look what Apple does. Boom, iPhone 4, 5, 6 into infinity. It's going to get bigger and bigger, I guess. I was hoping it would get smaller. Okay? Know your passion. Now, it's very important that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to love what you do. A lot of people ask Donald Trump, hey, how did you make your billions of dollars? I want to make billions of dollars too doing real estate. He's like, do you love real estate? No? Then your first job is to find what you love. A lot of people get into the family business because maybe the parents loved that industry, that product, that service, and then the parents are like, hey, I want you to take over my hard work. I want to have some immortality and pass a legacy on to you. But sometimes the children have to kind of say, well, I've got to find what I'm passionate about. Because otherwise, it's hard to find drive. What am I passionate about? Pretty easy. health and wellness. Okay? That's pretty clear. Well, what are you passionate about? And you have to think about that, and you have to write it down. The other day, I met with another alumni. He was doing brand strategy for companies here in Taiwan, helping them implement and develop their brand. And I asked him, what do you love? And he's like, automobiles. Boom, 3 days later, he networked with like the CEO of Bentley. You know? If you start thinking about it, the universe starts to bring it towards you, right? So what is it that you love? Find your passion. Okay, second part is client management. Once you have a product offering, you've got to let the people know who already bought it. They buy it the first time. It's easy to sell something the first time if it's a good product or if it's a good service, right? But how do you keep them from buying it over and over again? You have to remind them of how relevant you are to their growth. So if you've got one product, you kind of stopped showing that, you don't have a second product to show how that's more important to them. Right? So very important. You have to establish relevance. And when we learn in IMBA, it's about sales, marketing, brand equity. But for an entrepreneur, you may not have the funds to buy a billboard, so you have to have that rapport. Business management. You have to have a power team. I've got a good lawyer, right? When you write a book like this, do you think you want a lawyer? Okay, the pharmaceutical lawyer. Absolutely, right? So have a good disclaimer. You want to have contracts. You want to be protected. I have a good accountant. I have a good lawyer. I've got also some business consultants. So you want a power team. But then you also want people below you to do things. So if I have an office and I'm cleaning the toilet, okay, in the US, cleaning a toilet is like $12 an hour work. Well, I want to give myself a promotion, right? So I hired someone to clean the toilets for me and to do other things. They're doing $12 an hour work, and I can focus on the, whatever my rate is, okay? $200 lecturing an hour, whatever it is. Okay? So that's the goal is start hiring people to do the low value labor. Okay? And then personal development. Before in the first talk I said how we have our own limits. You have to have a business consultant or a business coach, no matter what. If you're working in a corporation, you have a manager. The manager's got their goals and they're saying, hey, look, I'm gonna get you to my job, my position, so when I get promoted, you can fill the gap. Well, entrepreneurs are CEOs, really. Now, CEOs say like L'Oreal or the company I interned, Microlife. The CEO gets information from who? Who advises the CEO? Any ideas? Who advises the CEO? Yeah, the board of directors, the advisory board, right? They also hire consultants. They hire consulting firms. So they get lateral information and information from the experts from the industry. Same thing for an entrepreneur. You have to get help. Otherwise, you become very, myopic, very focused, and you think your way is the right way. And all of a sudden, if you pay someone who's an expert and they give you stuff, sometimes you don't want to hear, that money is well worth it. Well spent. Fortify your business at the foundation, 4 legs. Okay, competitive offerings. So you have to find what you're passionate about. What are you excited about in life? If money was no issue at all, what would you enjoy doing on a daily basis? Playing video games. Yes, that's okay. If you enjoy playing video games, there are a lot of people who enjoy playing video games and then became owners of video game companies. Pretty cool, You'll see that in every industry. And then create a vision statement, an elevator pitch. So if someone meets me and they go, what do you do, Gerald? After the IMBA, what did you do? Had a baby, bought a house. No, my pitch is, well, since the IMBA, I've been able to develop my own career, and now I help people become healthy and unmedicated, because I believe in a vision that we can all live in a drug-free world. And I believe that people who are healthy are happy. Any of you met a sick person? Are they happy? No, right? Healthy people are happy. Okay? Identify your niche. What would you attempt if you knew you could not fail? Don't be afraid to enter and try it. Test the market. Okay? My market, my niche is holistic doctors who are seeing people on pharmaceuticals. That's my niche. And that's a big niche. That's not a niche. That's like, in the US, that's over 70% of people in the US are on medications. So my niche is pretty big, I would say. But you find your niche. And at the end of the day, what can you do that no one else can? and develop a business model. Okay? And you learn this all through this program here, which is great. And at the end of the day, what you want to do is monetize your passion. And from here, you can do literally anything you want for as long as you want, making a comfortable living. Become an industry expert. I'm going to go through this quickly. This applies to me, may not apply to you. Learn as much as you can about the industry, the job function, what you want, what you're offering, and pass your teacher. Know more than them. How do you do that? You have to actually see things in different lights, and you have to synthesize. Become the best at what you do, bottom line. Then phase 2 is you start to teach others what you know. Because how do you truly understand something? It's when you teach it to someone else, right? It's when you teach it to someone else. Teach it to anybody. And then sell what you know. So when you teach someone, you sell it as a product, a deliverable. So now I have a book. Now I have lectures that are for sale to my clients. So they'll see me live, and then what I do, I have a nice little list. And go, here, take a look, see if there's anything else you'd like to learn from me. Because I have my brand. My brand is me. Okay? And then that's where you start getting passive income. Right? And then develop passive streams of income, just as I mentioned. Right? And don't be afraid to train people to be better than you. Because when they do become more niched, go off in a different direction, you can feel proud about that. That you help them discover their full potential. And you're only going to benefit from when they're successful, you're successful, you cross-refer. You know, it's pretty cool. Don't be scared to see your employees grow beyond what you can offer them in your company. I've seen a lot of managers really try to suppress their employees because they don't want them to leave. And that is not healthy for the employer or the manager or the company. How does the road to sharing your passion with as many people as possible look like? Employee retention. All right. All of us have left the company before. We have different reasons. I talked about earlier, a bad manager is the #1 reason. Bad manager is the #1 reason. Here are the other reasons. Competitive pay. Okay? If you got a bad manager for 3 times your wage with a good manager, you get to start to now negotiate and figure out, is that going to be worth it? Right? But at the end of the day, if the pay is more competitive, you're more inclined to go there. Benefits. Some companies offer benefits, some don't. Right? Which one do you want? Startups have stock options, but you're not going to get like training. So the next one is here, training. I went to a Fortune 500 company, 3 months of training. Startup, you get the training. Right? They expect you to have that training already. Recognition. Okay, who likes a manager who goes, you messed up. What the hell is this? Anybody like that kind of manager? A good manager does like what we did with Jimmy's watch. Hey, look, come on over here. You did a good job with this. You solidified this client's needs. You've done this. Now I have a developmental opportunity. We got to get you to close for the business. Right? So what did I do? I highlighted the good things, just like the watch. And then I moved into the areas of need or opportunity. Right? So a good manager does sales in a very good way to help elevate the employees. Have you ever met a manager where you're just like, wow, I feel so inspired to work harder. I want to stay here until 7 p.m. like in Taiwan, and go home, be home at 8, right? So a good manager inspires people. A bad manager dictates. Okay, there's resources. So as in sales, I talked about cars, housing, right? There's those things that can come into play as to if you choose to work for one company or another. And then a culture, right? You want to definitely create a culture as an entrepreneur of a yes and. So if someone gave me a suggestion, hey, Gerald, you're my boss, but I'd like to make you a suggestion. I'm like, good, okay. What would you like? I would like, whatever they list. Now, I can easily go, no, you're fired. Right? I can easily do that. Okay? Or I can be like, yeah, that's a great suggestion. Let me look into the finance and the budget and see if we can do it. Or you're at a project. All of you are working in groups now, right? How many of you took the managerial accounting class already? All of you? Most of you? Okay. Do you guys still have to work in large groups, like 12, 15 people? Now, are those smaller? Okay, so there's smaller groups now. We had a group, I think, was it 14 people? I don't know, it was like 14 people, okay? Now, there are very opinionated people everywhere. When you have 14 of them, good things can happen, And so what we did was we just said, hey, look, we looked at the resources for all the part-time students who are working and have full-time jobs. Why don't you become a team, a part of a group? And then for the full-time students, we had like a couple of them. Why don't you become the leader of the group? And so then we had the full-time students meet on a regular basis to then disseminate information to the part-time students. And then everyone did their part. We broke up the assignment in 3 parts. The goal is, though, it's like, what do? We segmented it out, and we built off each other's strengths. So the strength was part-time students had industry experience that was ongoing to the project, with the project. Full-time students had the strength of, I got free time to meet and go to Luxie. Right? Yeah, but the idea is that you want to be able to understand where the strengths are. Now, what was great is when people would come and they're like, oh, I had to work till 8 o'clock the other day. They didn't get their part done. We didn't go and be like, dude, everyone should do a fair share. No, we understood. We have to meld, right? We have to compensate. But then on another project, they compensated. They made up. So you have to be aware of this and acknowledge everyone's strengths and weaknesses. Okay. Yes, and. That's what I was talking about. Yes, and. Highlight what was done well, then propose developmental opportunities. I mentioned this. Leaders inspire, managers dictate. Manage yourself with statistics. KPIs, key performance indicators. I am self-managed. I have Excel sheets with goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, so that I can meet my annual revenue goals, right? And I check myself every month. I'm like, oh wow, my sales, my revenue just totally went up this month. What did I do well? Oh, my sales dipped this month. What did I not do? And I'm always constantly checking myself up. Okay? Know what you're capable of, and set SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, with timelines. Profits and loss statements, P&L. Who here has done a P&L for a company before? Profits and loss statements, some of you? Okay. Do this before you graduate from the MBA. Just make one up. Look at someone else's. If you can do this, you can create the financial models for really any company. Okay? And as a consultant, I have to know how to do this, and it's pretty cool. When you take strategic management class, it kind of sets you up for this, but not to that level which you need to be. Okay, know your market assumptions. I'm not going to teach this right now, but just know this terminology, market assumptions. Okay? Use Excel or Google Sheets. I prefer Excel. Some people prefer Google Sheets. Maintain a GL, general ledger, right? My company is not making any money. If my consultant then would ask me, how much is it making? I don't know. Right? Who looks like the idiot then? I can go to the general ledger and I can see how much revenue is coming in, how much money is going out as expenses. That's it. It's a simple. All it is balancing your checkbook for your company. Okay? And then from there you can have all these other sheets. Okay? You can income statements. You can use QuickBooks. You can outsource this now to technology. Pretty straightforward, simple. Okay? A healthy business only exists with healthy members. When I go and I see a client and they want help to grow their business, and I go, okay, how much revenue did you generate last week? I don't know. When was the last time you checked? 20 years ago? Oh. And how long has your company been in this very small profile? For 20 years? I'm like, oh, perfect. Okay? But you start taking numbers. Hire a business coach or business consultant. They will help you identify the 20% of your job that produces 80% of your profit. Very key. You ever feel like you're working inefficiently? Do something like this. And there's tools and there's exercises on how to do that. This is called Pareto's Law. And then a business consultant will help you build systems, because they've helped many different companies of different sizes build systems and processes, just like the system and process of being hired for a job. And develop yourself to be on your A game all the time. We all got our A game. You ever have that time, that moment, you're just like on cloud 9? Maybe you landed that job that you totally wanted, and you're like, whoa! There's no one around, you start like punching the air and singing out, whatever you do. I don't punch air, but maybe I do something, I don't know. Because when you're in that moment, you don't know, right? You don't know. But what can you do to always be on your A game, no matter where you are? Whether you're working, whether with family, right? That's what they do. Lastly, this has been so valuable for me working with my business consultant in the beginning. Yeah, it was tough being an undergrad at Berkeley, working, go to school, seeing all my friends getting their education paid for. And I thought, wow, life happens to me. It's like, man, I'm poor. These kids are spoiled up, you know. None of them, they didn't act that way, but it's my mentality. They were totally cool. I'm friends with them now. And yeah, they had a more solid socioeconomic background, but I always felt like, oh, life happens to me. And this is a hard place to be. But then I moved here. I was like, wow, if I can paint and hire people to paint houses and make $17,000 in a summer, I can make anything happen, right? But this is hard work. This is like, you become a machine, right? I'm like, every day I'm gonna clock in the hours and I'm gonna generate the leads and I'm gonna close deals. But you get burnt out. And then when you figure out what your passion is, it's so easy to just talk about what you love. Whether if it's your hobby or if it's your job, it's so easy. You know, if you ask me about health and you start talking to me, we can go on forever, right? Because it's just too easy. And this is the phase when you're in your A game every moment. You're always on. You know? And I jump in and out here. And I got some bad days, right? This when my wife's not happy. But when she's happy, oh yeah, that was because of me. Right? And then when I'm working, because I enjoy what I do, it floats in and out here. Okay? Sometimes it goes here. I'm like, oh, revenue's a little low. I jump back here a little bit. I gotta step it up a bit. Okay? So what can we do to go from here to here? You know that. You have some, you get people in the world out there. It's like, oh, you know what? The economy's bad. I can't get a job. Oh, that's this. That's totally this. I'm like, well, I just went over to Microlife and I had lunch with my coworkers. Seen him 3 years ago. He's still working there. Why is he working there? And the person who told me, oh, the economy's bad. I'm like, what's the difference? And people are still finding jobs. It's either going to be you or it's going to be someone else. So it's about mindset out there. Okay. All right, so let's do Q&A.